Welcome back to Smile and Scars, the channel where real-life encounters turn into unforgettable stories of courage, skill, and unexpected justice. Today's story is about a bully who humiliated Steven Seagal in front of everyone, and the instant regret that followed. It started on an ordinary day at the local martial arts gym. Steven Seagal had stopped by to observe a demonstration, give tips, and meet fellow martial artists. The gym was packed with students eager to witness his expertise firsthand. Among the crowd was a notorious bully, someone known for showing off and trying to dominate everyone around him, thinking his size and aggression gave him the upper hand. He had a reputation for disrespect, for mocking others, and for making people feel small in front of peers. The bully noticed Seagal's presence immediately. His smug expression shifted as he realized the legendary martial artist was watching him. For him, it was an opportunity to assert dominance in front of the gym crowd, to show that he could humiliate even someone of Seagal's stature, at least in his mind. He smirked, puffed out his chest, and approached Seagal with a confidence fueled by arrogance and prior experience. "Hey, old man," the bully sneered, loud enough for the entire gym to hear, "think you're better than me." His voice carried a mix of challenge and mockery, designed to draw attention and provoke a reaction. The crowd watched in suspense. Some were excited, anticipating a confrontation, while others felt a nervous tension, unsure how Seagal would respond. The bully had misjudged the situation completely. He didn't realize that underestimating someone like Seagal could be his undoing. Seagal, calm as ever, didn't react immediately. He observed the bully carefully, noting his posture, his tendencies, and the crowd's reactions. There was no anger, no desire for retaliation, only measured awareness. Every second that passed was a lesson in control and patience as he assessed the situation. The bully, misreading Seagal's calmness as weakness, took it as an invitation to escalate. He grabbed a mat and threw it in Seagal's direction, attempting to humiliate him physically and provoke a reaction. Laughter erupted from the crowd, and some students shouted encouragement for the bully, unaware of the consequences that were about to unfold. Seagal's eyes narrowed subtly, and his breathing remained even. His movements were poised, relaxed, yet his body was fully prepared for immediate action if necessary. Without warning, Seagal moved not in haste, but with precise, deliberate speed. In a single motion, he sidestepped the bully, grabbed his wrist, and applied a joint lock that immobilized him instantly. The bully's arrogance crumbled as he realized he was caught completely at Seagal's mercy. The gym went silent, the atmosphere charged with disbelief. Everyone present witnessed first, and the contrast between brash aggression and disciplined skill. The bully struggled, attempting to resist, but every effort only tightened Seagal's hold. His movements were calm, controlled, and practiced to perfection. The humiliation that the bully had intended for Seagal had now reversed entirely. In front of the gym audience, he was rendered powerless by the very person he had sought to provoke. His face turned red with embarrassment, and a sense of dread replaced his initial confidence. Seagal spoke softly, his words deliberate and commanding. "Respect is earned, not forced," he said, his tone carrying authority without the need for anger. The words struck the bully with unexpected weight, the lesson clear and undeniable. He had underestimated both Seagal's skill and his ability to teach a lesson without losing composure. The gym members watched in awe, witnessing a masterclass in control, strategy, and psychological dominance. By the time the bully was released, he had learned a harsh reality. Arrogance and aggression without skill lead to instant regret. He stepped back, humiliated, while the crowd erupted in applause for Seagal. The lesson was not just physical, it was a reminder of the importance of humility, awareness, and respect. The entire incident, though brief, left an indelible impression on everyone present, illustrating the power of mastery and self-control in the face of provocation. As the day continued, students approached Seagal, eager to understand what had just occurred. He explained the principles behind his actions, emphasizing restraint, observation, and the use of skill only when necessary. His words resonated, inspiring not just admiration, but also a renewed sense of respect for discipline over aggression. The bully, meanwhile, retreated quietly, his initial confidence replaced by the weight of public embarrassment and the memory of being completely outclassed. After the incident with the bully, the atmosphere in the gym had shifted completely. What had started as a typical day of training transformed into an unforgettable lesson in humility, skill, and presence. Students who had once laughed at the bully now watched with awe, discussing the events in hushed tones, still trying to process how quickly arrogance had been crushed by Seagal's composure and mastery. Seagal didn't linger on the confrontation. He moved through the gym with calm authority, interacting with the students and sharing insights about martial arts, discipline, and respect. His approach was methodical. He demonstrated techniques, corrected postures, and encouraged focus, always emphasizing precision over aggression. It became clear to everyone present that his skill was not just about physical prowess, but also about controlling energy, reading opponents, and making deliberate decisions under pressure. Meanwhile, the bully sat on the side, nursing his bruised ego. Every glance at Seagal reminded him of his humiliation. He replayed the moment over and over in his mind, the smug expression he had worn, the laughter that had filled the room, and the sudden, unyielding grip that had left him powerless. He had gone in thinking the encounter would bolster his reputation, but instead, he had become the very subject of ridicule he had intended for someone else. The psychological impact of such instant reversal was profound. Seagal, noticing the lingering tension, chose to turn the situation into a teaching moment rather than a confrontation. He called the bully over, not in anger but with calm authority. "Come here," he said quietly yet firmly. The bully hesitated, unsure whether he was being summoned for further humiliation or an opportunity to redeem himself. He stepped forward cautiously, the weight of his earlier actions pressing heavily on his shoulders. Once the bully was within reach, Seagal spoke clearly and deliberately. "You sought to dominate without understanding the consequences. Skill without respect is dangerous, not impressive." The words were simple, yet they carried an unshakable weight. In front of the entire gym, the bully listened, his arrogance replaced with embarrassment and a growing awareness of his mistake. Seagal's voice, calm but commanding, ensured that the lesson was absorbed not just by the bully, but by everyone witnessing it. The physical demonstration that had led to the initial humiliation was only the beginning. Seagal began explaining the principles behind his movements, the importance of leverage, timing, and situational awareness. He emphasized that true mastery was not about overpowering someone with brute force, but about understanding human behavior, predicting actions, and responding with precision. The bully, forced to focus on each word and gesture, began to grasp the depth of his miscalculation. Seagal continued, demonstrating how a single, well-timed move could neutralize aggression without escalating conflict. He illustrated joint locks, redirection techniques, and controlled holds, showing the students how skill and awareness could provide safety and authority simultaneously. Each demonstration was executed with precision, highlighting the stark contrast between practiced mastery and impulsive aggression. The bully could only watch, realizing how poorly his overconfidence had served him. During the demonstrations, Seagal occasionally made eye contact with the bully, reinforcing the idea that the lesson was personal as well as educational. "Control is earned through understanding, not assumed through intimidation," he said. The simplicity of the statement belied its depth. The bully, now silent and introspective, began to understand that true dominance is rooted in respect, skill, and composure, not in bluster or physical size. As the class continued, Seagal engaged the students in interactive exercises. Volunteers practiced techniques under his guidance, learning the subtle nuances of balance, leverage, and timing. The bully, initially hesitant, was invited to participate. He reluctantly joined, aware that further refusal would compound his embarrassment. Seagal provided gentle correction, reinforcing the importance of humility and focus. Each adjustment highlighted the gap between thoughtless aggression and deliberate skill. The psychological impact on the bully grew more profound with every passing moment. Not only had his attempt to assert dominance failed spectacularly, but now he was being guided through a process that required acknowledgement of his own limitations. The lesson was immersive. Every physical movement, every correction, every demonstration was a tangible reminder of how his arrogance had been his greatest weakness. Outside the gym, spectators who had gathered to watch the demonstration were equally captivated. The incident became an unspoken example of the consequences of overestimating oneself. Witnesses discussed the events with awe, noting how quickly confidence could turn into regret when faced with true mastery. The story of the encounter spread beyond the gym, inspiring respect for skill, discipline, and the ability to remain calm under provocation. During a break, Seagal spoke privately to the bully, maintaining the same calm tone. "Your aggression is wasted energy unless guided by skill and awareness. Learn restraint before you try to lead others." The bully, visibly shaken, nodded slowly. For the first time, he was listening without ego interfering. The public humiliation had faded into a powerful internal lesson, one that would shape his behavior moving forward. As the day progressed, the energy in the gym shifted from tension to admiration. Students practiced diligently, encouraged by the clarity of instruction and the tangible demonstration of consequences for arrogance. The bully, now participating sincerely, began to mirror the focus and discipline he had witnessed. The transformation was subtle but meaningful, from brashness to attentiveness, from overconfidence to awareness. Seagal's influence had turned a moment of conflict into a lesson that extended far beyond the physical confrontation. By late afternoon, the incident had become a story in itself. Conversations circulated about the speed, precision, and calmness with which Seagal had handled the situation. Students reflected on the importance of respect, control, and foresight. The bully, once the center of attention for all the wrong reasons, was now quietly absorbing a lesson he had not anticipated. The public arena had become a classroom, and Seagal, without losing composure or raising his voice, had taught a lesson few would ever forget. Seagal concluded the session with a demonstration of defensive techniques that emphasized de-escalation. He explained that sometimes the greatest victory is not defeating an opponent but maintaining control over oneself while neutralizing threats. The bully, witnessing the effectiveness of these principles firsthand, could not help but feel a mix of regret, awe, and newfound respect. The contrast between impulsive arrogance and deliberate skill was undeniable. The final moments of the session focused on situational awareness, mental discipline, and anticipation. Seagal encouraged students to practice mindfulness, to assess threats calmly, and to respond with controlled precision rather than instinctive aggression. The bully, now attentive and subdued, absorbed every instruction, understanding that his previous behavior had been reckless and short-sighted. The lesson, delivered in a controlled and methodical manner, left a lasting impression on both him and the onlookers. As the gym emptied, the bully approached Seagal privately. I misjudged you," he admitted, his voice hesitant. "I didn't realize." Seagal placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture of acknowledgement but not leniency. "Understanding comes from humility," Seagal replied. "Learn from this, or the next time, your mistakes will be even more costly." The exchange, quiet and controlled, cemented the transformation that had begun with public humiliation but ended with personal growth. By the end of the day, it was clear that the incident had achieved multiple lessons. For the students, it was a vivid example of respect, discipline, and mastery. For the bully, it was a personal awakening, a moment of reckoning with the limits of arrogance and the value of skill. And for everyone who witnessed the events, it was a reminder that true power lies not in intimidation, but in awareness, composure, and the deliberate application of expertise. The story would be retold countless times, how a bully, thinking he could humiliate a master, was instead humbled within seconds, how skill, patience, and psychological control can turn arrogance into regret, and how Seagal's calm authority transformed a moment of confrontation into an unforgettable life lesson. The gym became more than a training space. It became a classroom for humility, focus, and the enduring power of mastery. The day after the public confrontation, the atmosphere in the gym had changed completely. The students who had witnessed the incident were abuzz with discussions about skill, humility, and the sudden reversal of power. No one could stop talking about how quickly the bully's arrogance had been shattered, and more importantly, how Seagal had handled the entire situation with calm, deliberate authority. Seagal arrived early that morning, as was his routine, and immediately began interacting with the students. He wasn't there to lecture, but to teach through example. His calm demeanor and measured movements created an energy of focus throughout the gym. Everyone present felt the contrast between the chaos of aggression and the serenity of control. The bully, however, entered quietly, avoiding the crowd's gaze. His previous display of arrogance had been replaced by a lingering awareness of the consequences of overestimating one's strength and underestimating skill. Seagal started the day with warm-ups and demonstrations, emphasizing precision, timing, and awareness. He encouraged each student to focus not only on physical movements, but also on understanding the intent behind actions. The bully, still visibly shaken from the previous day, joined the exercises reluctantly. Each correction Seagal offered was calm but firm, emphasizing that mastery was achieved through discipline, not force. The morning progressed with a series of controlled sparring exercises. Seagal paired students with partners and demonstrated how to respond to aggression with minimal force while maintaining control. The bully found himself repeatedly paired with Seagal for demonstrations. Each time, he attempted to assert dominance, only to be subtly and decisively neutralized. There were no harsh words, no overt humiliation, only precise, calculated movements that highlighted the gap between skillful mastery and impulsive aggression. During a break, Seagal addressed the entire gym. Skill is not about being bigger, care, or louder. It is about understanding, timing, and composure. Confidence without knowledge leads to mistakes, and arrogance without awareness invites regret. His words resonated deeply with everyone present, particularly the bully, who reflected silently on the events that had unfolded. Seagal then conducted a lesson on situational awareness. He explained how observing an opponent's tendencies, predicting reactions, and maintaining calm can prevent conflict from escalating. The students practiced by analyzing each other's movements, anticipating attacks, and responding without panic. The bully, for the first time, realized that his previous behavior had been reactive and uncalculated. He struggled to match Seagal's deliberate control, experiencing firsthand how arrogance could blind one to reality. As the lesson continued, Seagal introduced advanced techniques that emphasized leverage, precision, and minimal exertion for maximum effect. He demonstrated a series of holds and redirection techniques, each one executed with fluidity and calm. The students watched intently while the bully tried to mimic the movements. His attempts were clumsy at first, but with careful guidance, he began to grasp the principles. Slowly, he understood that force alone could not achieve mastery. Seagal paused to observe the bully's progress. "You are learning, but remember, skill without humility is dangerous. Do not let pride cloud your judgment." The words were gentle but firm, leaving no room for misinterpretation. The bully absorbed them silently, a stark contrast to his brash behavior just a day prior. His embarrassment had transformed into a desire to improve, to understand the depth of discipline that Seagal embodied. Later, Seagal organized a scenario-based exercise, simulating confrontations and testing students' reactions under pressure. The bully found himself participating under controlled supervision, experiencing situations that challenged his reflexes, awareness, and composure. Each time he faltered, Seagal corrected him with calm precision, demonstrating the importance of observation, patience, and calculated response. By the end of the exercise, the bully had begun to internalize the difference between impulsive aggression and mindful action. During the lunch break, Seagal spoke privately to the bully. "You sought to control without understanding. That led to your humiliation, but now you have an opportunity to learn and grow. Remember that true strength comes from mastery, patience, and respect." For others, the bully nodded slowly, a mix of humility and determination in his eyes. The incident that had started with public embarrassment had evolved into a transformative lesson, one that would shape his approach to martial arts and life itself. The afternoon session focused on mental discipline. Seagal explained how the mind is the most important tool in any confrontation. He guided the students through exercises in focus, visualization, and controlled breathing. The bully, initially skeptical, began to realize that his previous confidence had been misplaced. The ability to control one's mind, emotions, and reactions was far more valuable than brute strength or intimidation. Seagal then conducted paired exercises, where students had to respond to surprise attacks with calm and measured techniques. The bully, working closely with another student, experienced first, and how reactionary movements often led to vulnerability. Seagal's voice echoed in the gym: predict, observe, control. Every action has consequences. The lesson was clear, and the bully's attempts at dominance were now replaced with careful attention and deliberate execution. By late afternoon, the physical demonstrations were complete, and Seagal gathered the group for a final discussion. "The events yesterday were not about punishment," he began. "They were about understanding the consequences of behavior, the importance of discipline, and the power of controlled skill. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn, and every moment is a chance to improve." The words resonated with everyone, and the bully, now quiet and introspective, recognized the profound truth in them. The bully approached Seagal one last time before leaving. "Thank you," he said quietly. "I didn't understand yesterday. I see now that arrogance without control is dangerous." Seagal nodded, acknowledging the sincerity. "Remember this feeling," he replied. "Let it guide your actions and remind you that true mastery is earned, not assumed." The encounter had come full circle, transforming a moment of humiliation into a lasting lesson in respect, discipline, and growth. As the gym emptied, students continued discussing the events, reflecting on the lessons learned. The bully, once the center of mockery, had been reshaped by experience, discipline, and guidance. The story of the incident spread, not as a tale of punishment, but as a narrative about the transformative power of skill, composure, and the ability to turn conflict into education. Seagal remained behind, ensuring that each student had absorbed the core principles of awareness, respect, and precision. His calm authority left an indelible impression. The lesson of the bully's rapid humiliation became a legend within the gym, a story retold to new students as an example of what happens when arrogance meets mastery. By the end of Part 3, it was evident that the encounter was more than a confrontation. It was a comprehensive lesson in discipline, control, and the consequences of overconfidence. The bully had experienced immediate regret, but through guidance and observation, he had also experienced growth. The story concluded with a powerful reminder: true power lies not in aggression or intimidation, but in skill, composure, and respect for oneself and others. The incident would be remembered not for the humiliation alone, but for the transformation it inspired. Arrogance had met mastery, and in that meeting, a life lesson was forged, one that would resonate far beyond the gym, shaping behavior, attitudes, and the understanding of what it truly means to be strong.